Hi, welcome to Beginning Engineers. Today I'm going to be talking about Deming's 14 principles, making your business more effective. First of all, who was Deming? W. Edwards Deming is considered by many to be one of the most important figures in industrial engineering. He helped instill management and quality ideas in Japan that allowed for Japan to successfully recover from the Second World War. They became a prosperous industrial nation and still continue that today. He was a proponent and popularizer of statistical process control, SPC, and the Plan Do Study Act cycle. Study being the key word there, not the Plan Do Check Act cycle. He believed that was a misinterpretation of Shewhart's original idea. In the United States, Deming is probably most famous for his 14 key principles for managers to transform their businesses' effectiveness. That's the whole topic of this video. He's credited with launching the Total Quality Management movement, TQM. This way of thinking is still widely used in industry today. So why do his principles matter? Well, they provide a framework to motivate a business to become focused on change and instill this spirit in everyone. Deming believed to successfully change an organization, everybody had to be on board, from the CEO all the way down to the lowest level hires. Everyone has to be involved. The framework really seeks to change the mindset of production and create unity in all levels. So not just from the top level to the bottom level, but also between departments. The framework is very broad and it's at a high level. It's not a set of specific equations or specific instructions to follow. There's nothing that says a machine should rotate this many times or you need this many screws for an assembly. It's much more high level than that. So what are the actual principles? Well, let's get into them. Here are Deming's 14 principles to transform business. Number 1, create constancy of purpose toward improvement of product and service with the aim to become competitive, to stay in business, and to provide jobs. That seems like a pretty good number 1, right? Always improve your product and service so that you can be competitive, stay in business, and provide jobs. Number 2, adopt the new philosophy. We are in a new economic age. Western management must awaken to the challenge, must learn their responsibilities, and take on leadership for change. This point really shows how things have changed since back then. You have to think, this is around World War II. American companies back then just produced very differently. Deming saw these things being successful in Japan and helped to bring them back to the United States. Of course, many United States companies were stubborn at first, but ultimately adopted these principles, and that is what allowed them to have much better production quality into the 60s and 70s, and still today. Number 3, cease dependence on inspection to achieve quality. Eliminate the need for massive inspection by building quality into the product in the first place. I'll have more on this later. This is a very different idea than someone like Frederick Taylor, who used the scientific management idea. Deming really believed in building quality in the workplace and really didn't think it was necessary to have all this inspection if you were doing things right from the beginning. This is a core idea to his beliefs. Again, we'll talk more on it later. Principle number 4. End the practice of awarding business on the basis of a price tag. Instead, minimize total cost. Move towards a single supplier for any one item on a long-term relationship of loyalty and trust. What I like about Deming is that he's a very optimistic thinker. He thinks more in a utopia, at least the way I understand it. While it is smart to look at suppliers and other relationships and say, let's not just buy the cheapest price tag, let's think about additional costs. Sometimes if you buy from the cheapest available, there'll be additional costs of repairs, late shipments, things like that. You see that type of thinking is pretty common today. Now, the whole moving towards just one supplier for a single product, in terms of diversification and mitigating risk, that might not be the best idea. But again, Deming is thinking in a world where we're all working together to build the best quality product. If you can really foster that relationship with partners and really work together and ensure your success and their success, ideally, you really would only need one supplier for your one specific product. And you would work together in an open relationship to make everything better. Number 5, Improve constantly and forever the system of production and service to improve quality and productivity and thus constantly decrease costs. This is known as continuous improvement. This is such a widely held belief in manufacturing and many other industries. If you've worked in production or manufacturing, you've probably been to a continuous improvement, also known as Kaizen, meeting. You've probably been on a team where you have to analyze some part of your business to either increase the productivity or reduce the cost. This idea is so essential to the world today. Keep improving so that you can stay competitive. And you'll notice too, a lot of these principles combine really well or kind of reference each other or reflect on each other in a way. So back to principle 1, how do we stay competitive and keep providing jobs? We continuously improve. Number 6, institute training on the job. This makes sense. If you want to build quality into the product and continuously improve, everyone involved with work needs to continuously be trained and updated so that they are able to do their jobs and improve upon them. Number 7, institute leadership. The aim of supervision should be to help people and machines and gadgets do a better job. Supervision of management is in need of an overhaul, as well as supervision of production workers. So principle 7 is kind of a direct response to those bosses, those shift supervisors who just yell at those below them to meet their quotas or get the job done. Deming envisioned management and supervision as those who help the people perform better, who help the machines perform better, who aren't just strict about every single rule, but will actually have an open discussion with other employees and say, how can I serve you? How can I help you and your job be more productive and even easier if that's possible? And in becoming more effective leaders, we have principle number 8, drive out fear so that everyone may work effectively for the company. If you have good leaders who are helping those below and above them, and you get rid of fear so that communication becomes more open, everyone can come together, express ideas, and work towards the constant improvement of the company, the product, and the service. Principle number 9, to help foster this communication, break down barriers between departments. People in research, design, sales, and production must work as a team in order to foresee problems of production and usage that may be encountered with the product or service. Think about how much better your job would be if Principle 9 was completely followed everywhere. How often does your department run across a problem because someone in sales didn't tell you something? Or you're trying to ship a product, but production didn't tell you there was a defect or that the quantity had changed. Imagine if the barriers to this type of communication were removed. Imagine how much better things would be and how many less problems there would be. Principle number 10. Eliminate slogans, exhortations, and targets for the workforce, asking for 0 defects and new levels of productivity. Such exhortations only create adversarial relationships, as the bulk of the causes of low quality and low productivity belong to the system and thus lie beyond the power of the workforce. Again, here I really think we see Deming's optimism and faith in people. Here I think Deming is really saying, people want to work hard, people want to do the best they can. If someone can't meet a quota, there's a pretty good reason for that. So get rid of those quotas and have good leadership in place. Substitute those quotas with leadership. Eliminate management by specific objective. Eliminate management by numbers and numerical goals. It shouldn't be, we need this many sales, we need this many units without defects. It should be more general, more broad. We're heading to here in the future. We want our company to look like this and our product to look like this. We have faith in you. We have faith in your partners in this business. How can we get there? How can we help you? How can we work together? And that isn't to say there are unspoken quotas that exist. Of course you have to sell a certain amount of your product or service to survive. But if you're constantly rushing to sell more and you let bad quality or bad products slip through, you're not going to be competitive. And continuing on that idea of removing quotas, we have Principle 11. Remove barriers that rob the hourly worker of his right to pride of workmanship. The responsibility of supervisors must be changed from sheer numbers to quality. Again, Deming was big on this idea of let people who are trained properly make great products. That ultimately is going to let you stay competitive. If you're just rushing to meet a number, if you're just rushing to get products out, they're going to be bad quality, and eventually you're not going to be profitable anymore. And not just the hourly worker. We have Principle 12. Remove barriers that rob people in management and in engineering of their right to pride of workmanship. This means, inter alia, abolishment of the annual or merit rating and of management by objectives. So not only is the hourly labor not forced to meet these quotas and focus just on numbers, but management and engineering shouldn't just be focused on a yearly bonus where they have to meet some sort of numerical goal. Again, people in these positions should really work to make the best quality product, not just to hit some arbitrary number. Principle 13. Institute a vigorous program of education and self-improvement. So not only do you train people to do their jobs, but you make them more well-rounded so that they can improve their skill set regardless. Principle 14. Put everybody in the company to work to accomplish the transformation. The transformation is everybody's job. Again, this is at the core of Deming's 14 principles. Everybody must want to improve and change the company. It takes everyone to accomplish this. Alright, those were Deming's 14 principles, and on a few of those principles, I mentioned this idea of building quality in versus just checking and controlling for it. Deming was a firm believer in designing systems with a focus on quality and empowering employees and managers to focus on quality over productivity. I'm sure you really noticed that theme with all those principles. Contrast this with Frederick Taylor's philosophies that put an emphasis on standard work and measuring to ensure quality conformance. Taylor has been quoted saying some pretty harsh things about the intelligence of low-level workers, just physical jobs that don't require a lot of formal education. Taylor really didn't believe these people were capable of even comprehending the details of what they were doing, let alone improve them. And you see that with a lot of the ideas he championed. Ideas like standard work made up of third legs. This whole idea of there's really one ideal way to do this job, you should only move a certain way, and you should always do it that way to meet your quotas, and because really, you're not going to be able to think of anything better. It's a bit more of a pessimistic view, I would say. There are similarities, though. Both Deming and Taylor were believers in using data and studies to better a system. But the mindsets were different again. Empowerment versus control. And that wasn't to say that Deming didn't believe in some of Taylor's ideas and vice versa, but there is a very different way of going about it. So is this how successful companies are run? Do successful companies use Deming's 14 principles? Perhaps. Frederick Taylor's ideas worked very well for increasing capital and production during the Industrial Revolution and World War II. Many companies still use Frederick's scientific management approach today. Amazon is famous for constantly monitoring their employees with all sorts of technology and forcing them to meet quotas, to the point where someone could be fired because they're only at 90% of their quota. These time studies and work standard ideas are concepts still widely used in industry today, so we obviously still use some of Taylor's ideas. Like I mentioned before, Taylor didn't really put much faith in the intelligence of most workers, and said that those physically capable of doing them were often not smart enough to comprehend them. Deming and his 14 principles are very different. He puts much more faith in the workers and their capabilities. Deming believes that everyone had to work together to better the company. Not just managers and those in the offices, but those on the floor, everybody involved. What's interesting is that today, with many startups, whether they're tech-heavy or not, we see companies start with a viewpoint that kind of aligns more with Deming. You hire people that you really put a lot of faith in, give them a lot of control, and everyone works together to better the company. But eventually, as the company grows large enough and begins hiring less skilled people to do the same jobs, they don't want to put the effort in to train them. So we see these policies and attitudes fall more in line with Taylor's ideas. Companies become more worried about the risk of the new hires. Even if they might think the employees have the skill set needed, they don't want them doing anything too complicated because they want to control the work and ensure that their customers keep coming back. Thank you so much for watching this Beginning Engineers video on Deming's 14 principles. You see a lot of these ideas still used in industry today, and it's very interesting to compare the high-level ideas of Deming versus the high-level ideas of Taylor. Which ideas do you agree more with? If you like this video, please subscribe. Have a great day.